Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel, and we are covering Game 2 of the Women's World Chess Championship between the champion Wenjun and Zhongyi. Game 1, a very peaceful draw, so the scores are half to half. But today there was a catastrophic blunder by one of these players, and one of these players has now got a lead in the match. Yes, there was a peaceful draw, and Wenjun opened with e4, and we got a very interesting Sicilian defense. So what do we see today? An English from Zhongyi. We get knight f6 and knight to c3, e5, reverse Sicilian, the most combative way to meet this opening. These players are not playing symmetrical stuff, they are here to fight. We get knight f3, the four knights English, effectively, or four knights reverse Sicilian. And then this common move here, g3, allowing for the bishop to be fianchettoed onto g2. We strike back with d4, takes, pretty standard stuff, bishop to g2, bishop to c5, just developing our pieces as normal, castles. Then we get d3, h6, and knight takes, queen takes. So far the players have spent no time whatsoever. Zhongyi is down like 2 minutes, but that's just because she's a little bit slow making the moves and writing the moves down. But now we get bishop to d2. And this is obviously part of preparation. I don't think this is the most common move in the position, because Wenjun here goes for her first think. And she spends a long time, considering this is only move 10. She spends almost 11 minutes, 10 minutes, and she slides the queen back, which is a good move. You get her out of the way of any discoveries with this bishop, should the knight, want to jump anywhere. Then we get bishop to c3, and then she spends another long period of time and plays queen to e7. The main reason is because there's this knight maneuver that's coming, and this is very common trope, I'll say, or plan when you've got a fianchettoed bishop. You drop the knight back to e1 or to d2, and it can reroute itself, but the main plan is to open up this bishop. This isn't a Catalan of sorts, but you are going to get this lovely open bishop, and Black's development on the queen side is going to suffer for it. So, after a little bit of time, Zhongyi, knight to d2. Most of the time was probably coming back to the board and writing the move down. The knight jumps into the center, and we kick it out with e3. A very brave decision. And a very brave decision to play knight to d4, because there was the plan to go back. That's what commentators were looking at. I thought, well, you're going back to normal square. But Wenjun finds this nice idea to play knight to b5, securing herself the dark squared bishop. Because if you try to rescue this bishop by going this way, it's just not going to work. So you've got a couple moves to consider here. You've got queen h4, you've got a4, and you've got knight to c4. Or knight to e4 if you really want. We play a4, takes, and Wenjun here blitzes out c6. Which might be a mistake. So she's down half an hour on the clock because she had like 3 10-minute things in a row. For queen d6, for queen e7, and for knight d4. Like 10 minutes, 11 moves each. So she's down 30 minutes. Zhongyi, for her part, has thought a little bit. And c6 is rushed because it allows a5. And I don't think Wenjun knew about a5, or at least she didn't underestimate how strong it is. Why is it so strong? Because Black would have liked to play a5, and in the future they may have liked to play b5 as well. And then, kind of get things rolling on the queen side. This disallows b5 and a5 completely, physically disallowing a5, and you can't really play b5 because of en passant. You might say, but I get the same structure. But this rook is currently pinned, because this bishop can't get out at the moment. So, we play bishop to d2. Her move here, she spends time, a lot of time, and she's considering where the bishop can go. So it can go to d2, but it can also go to e6, and it can also go to f5. Each come with their own abilities. Going here to e6, this allows either the queen or the knight going to that square. Going to f5 allows pressure on this pawn, which might promote d4, which could be good or it could be bad for white, all requiring their own bits of calculation. But bishop to d2 comes, and now we get queen to b3, putting pressure on b7 pawn, which gets defended by the rook. We now jump our knight into the center, securing ourselves a dark squared bishop. There's no way you can go to save it, so we retreat, takes. The big problem here for Wenjun is she's down 20 or so minutes on the clock, but the position is completely level as we approach move 20 with d4 and b6. These players have now moved 20 moves. They are now halfway to the time control. Tanjini still has more than half her time. Wenjun down to 40 minutes for 20 moves. Still fine, but when your opponent's got so much time, you've got to be so accurate and use your time so consciously. Takes. And now rook a7. And black is... The engine's starting to like black, depending on its depth. This is depth 22 moves from stock for 17. And Wenjun thinks for a long time. Tanjini, to her credit, also thought for about 10 minutes or so. Wenjun goes for even longer, but finds the best move, according to the engine. Bishop to e6. Hits the queen. Queen slides over. And now we need to play e4. We slide the rook over, which is still fine. The rook comes over, and now we look to trade bishops. But takes. There was a moment here when instead of sliding the rook over, this move, you could have taken and ed4, and you would have still got the same structure, but you would have got it early and you would have had queens on the board. This might have been another way to play with a bit more dynamically with black. But we slid the rook over, we got here, we trade queens and we trade bishops. Move 28 and b5, protecting the pawn and kind of disallowing infiltration. Now, most of us would look at this position and say it's heading for a draw. The Take app, not sponsoring this video, but they said it was heading for a draw as well at this point. It looks very drawish. You trade one set of rooks. It's extremely drawish. It is almost identical structure. The difference is a D pawn for a B pawn. They both have C pawns. They both have F through H pawns. Both have two rooks. There's no imbalance. There's a very slight imbalance. So you might create one pass pawn each, where after we trade a set of rooks, we do get one pass pawn each. The slightly negative thing for black is that they've got 7 minutes to make 7 moves, and your king is slightly more passive than white's king. White's king has already made its way, from to here. Black's king is still where it castled. We've got a pass pawn, you've got a pass pawn. Those are not straight arrows, but anyway. We've both got pass pawns, but there could be a way where we just both neutralize them. And then it's a draw. These two pawns fall off the board, game's a draw. King f8, good move. Rook slides over, and now we infiltrate with a check. King comes forward, that's fine. We look to target the pawn, give another check, and we slide over to f3. Move 37. King e2. Now, if you want to play for a draw here, you play rook b3. Rook b3 is a very important move because you keep eye on this pawn. You disallow the king really from coming forward. He's got to not go down, maneuver this way up the side of the board, and you will be fine. Instead of that, Wenjun here plays rook f5. Oh, let's reload the board. Rook to f5, which you can see allows white a little bit of hope if they play the right move. King to e3. And now, Wenjun plays the best move, h5. She's going to make time control. She's got 2 minutes, 37 seconds to play one move. Tanjini, 33 minutes. She has played this game like a Terminator or like she was late for a business meeting. Absolutely incredible. f4. Wenjun just needs to play one move. She only has one move, and that is b4. Only one move to hold this position. Incredibly difficult. And you can see by the color that the board has changed, she does not find it. Instead, she plays king to e8 and blunders the game. Blunders the game for one move only, and that is king to e4. The king is now very close. This pawn will be escorted, and Wenjun is now losing in the second game of the World Championship. And it does not get any better. She loses the pawn on b5. She defends the h5 pawn, but that pass pawn here, even though pushing it right now loses some of your advantage, it is going to be a problem. The king comes in, gets booted to d4. You can try and infiltrate and grab other pawns. Your king is now hunted, and you are threatened with mate as you try to defend your pawns and get them through. Even this position is completely lost, because even though this pawn is 3 squares away from queening, Your rook is in front of it. This king is right next to his pawn, and there's nothing you can do. You can get the pawn after some moves all the way to h2, but I am going to queen first when I check, and I wrap the rook around, and king to e7. There's no check that you can give. You can go here, but you will have to sacrifice the rook. This pawn will fall, and you will lose the game. So Wenjun on move 62 resigns. An incredible game by Zhongyi. Incredible game. Wenjun, one bad blunder in time pressure, maybe. She did have 2 minutes. For king e8, she spent 31 seconds. So it must have been in her plan, but it had already got untenable here. I already told you, the only move to find is b4. Completely sacrificing this pawn. But the plan after here is to then play rook a5. And you can still try and hold this position. It's not as bad. King e8 allows this king to come up. You don't have to grab this pawn. Because it seems stupid to give up the pawn. King e8 seems natural. You're getting the king over to this file. But this king's getting up. And you've run out of squares for your rook. It can't stay on this rank. So you're going to give up the pawn over there. And you can't get quick enough to the a file to come and harass the king with side checks and harass these pawns. So an unfortunate mistake for Wenjun. She goes down 1.5 to half in the match. Zhongyi was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like, she did not spend too much time thinking at all. It was a Terminator-like performance. She mowed down Wenjun. Even here, she was spending a couple of minutes, but she was because she was winning. Like, she used her time advantage, and not even that she had a time advantage. Remember, both players had the same amount of time. The most amount of time she spent here was king d6, which is an incredible, because it's the only winning move. She spent the most amount of time. She spent 22 minutes here to find king to d6, but it's because it's the only winning move. Wenjun doesn't have 20 minutes to spend to find best moves. That's the best part. Like, the thing is, you could say king d6. If you play d6 or you give a check, you draw the game. This, look at the EVA bar, plummet after a few seconds. Look at it plummet. It's a draw again. You play d6, going too early. It's going to plummet again, as it thinks. Like, Wenjun was that close to drawing the game, but Zhongyi had enough time, had enough of a winning position to find the best move, king to d6. In this critical position on move 53, and a couple moves later, here, like, everything's winning. She found a couple key moves at the right time. Wenjun made one mistake, and she loses the game. An incredible, incredible game from Zhongyi. Wenjun might count herself unlucky, but it was chess. It was a mistake, and there's not much you can do. There will be a rest day tomorrow, and she will have to bounce back then on Sunday. In game 3, when she's got the white pieces, she can't really... She has to play interesting games. She has to go for imbalance. She can't overpush because you don't want to surrender a two-game lead. But she's got to try and strike back as soon as she can. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again soon.